Hello and welcome to the Ego's costume party. Please check your authenticity at the door. That's right. Tonight's dress code is spiritually superior casual. Have you ever noticed that sometimes life feels like one big long Halloween party, except that the costumes don't come off? I mean, you've got the good one, the healer, the enlightened one, the I'm fine, everything's fine, I got this. All those masks that we wear, but underneath we forget that who we really are underneath all those masks. Underneath all that glitter and spiritual deodorant, we miss who we really are. All the ways we think we're supposed to be, all the masks that we wear. Today, in Walking the Path, welcome, we're going to talk about the ego's costume party and how to recognize the roles that we've been playing and to laugh at them and to remember the real self, capital S self, beneath the show. So, before I talk about the ego's costume party, I want to tell you about Rythmia, because I'm at Rythmia today. I just got to teach the what we call our New Heart After Glow class. It's one of my favorite classes at Rythmia because it's kind of a little bit of science, the science behind what's going on here, what's going on with the medicine. And it really, really, really helps people. This is one of the classes that people just feel so clear afterwards. They see things that they hadn't seen before. And that's one of the things about Rythmia is the curriculum. That's what, aside from the unparalleled level of care, medical attention, therapeutic attention, physical attention, all of the care and love that you receive here, the beautiful surroundings, the outstanding organization of the entire week. Aside from all of that, the great food, the massages, the cold plunge, the sauna, aside from all that, there's this curriculum that is unparalleled. It is truly incomparable. And what we see in the curriculum is that what people tell us after all these years is that the classes are what make the difference. And that's one of the things I do here at Rythmia. I get to be one of the facilitators. We have an amazing facilitation team here. And the staff here is truly amazing. And they really make your stay. So come see us at Rythmia. But back to the ego's costume party. This is the second talk in our series this month on unbecoming, return to the real. That's the theme of the month is unbecoming, return to the real. And last week we talked about the fix yourself trap. We begin by returning to what's real by exploring that inner loop that whispers to you, if I could just fix this, that's the if then. If I could fix this, if I could heal that, if I could just align myself, if I could just align all my chakras, if I could just if I could just figure out what's blocking me, what's wrong with me, then I'd be okay. Then I'd be prosperous. Then I'd be healthy. Then I'd be whatever. It's all based on this fundamental belief that I'm not enough. I'm not enough. And the not enough becomes the engine behind this self-improvement loop, this self-improvement treadmill, and that where spirituality our spiritual practice can even become performative when the ego tries to earn what the soul already is. We keep thinking we have to prove our worth and value. We have to earn something. But the shift that we practiced last week was fixing begins with lack. There's something wrong. I'm not enough. I'm not lovable. I need to come into alignment. I need to figure out what's blocking me, right? There's something wrong that I must change. That's the beginning of the ego fix yourself trap. Remembering, right? The opposite of fixing is remembering my inherent, that wholeness is inherent, that's my baseline is wholeness. And that begins with love, that I've never not been whole. And growth is simply a natural expression. Of course we want to improve. Of course we want to get better. Of course we want to change things in our habits and ourselves. That's different than fixing. Fixing is based on you're not enough right now. And if you remember, if you can fix this, then you'll be okay. Growth and expansion is a natural and healthy desire to grow and expand. And when we are in that and when we're in, instead of fixing, we're remembering. Remembering is based on love. Remembering is based that wholeness is already here. That's my inherent state. And then my growth is just a natural expression. It's like the jungle here isn't growing to earn the approval of the sun. If I could just grow a little bit more, then I'll be enough. No, it's just growing because that's what it does. It's just growing because, I just want to grow and express. That's remembering. That's the difference between the fix yourself trap. Wholeness is original. Wholeness is original. It's not earned. It's not created. It's who you are automatically. Well, how is it possible if I feel so unwhole, right? That's the egoic story that we're telling ourselves. Growth is an expression of who I am. I want to write this book. I want to share this talk. I want to dance. I want to do whatever it is that you want to do because you want to do it, not because if you do that, then you'll be okay. If I write the book, then I'll arrive. If I do this, then that if then thinking. Peace begins when we stop trying to perfect ourselves and start inhabiting ourselves just as we are. I mean, I feel like I should start a group called Spiritual Overachievers Anonymous. How many people feel like they're members of Spiritual Overachievers Anonymous? Hi, I'm a spiritual overachiever. My name's John. So here's this week, the ego's costume party. We want to talk about these roles that we play. You know that feeling that, I'll tell you, here's an example of the ego's costume party. I remember being at my apartment when I used to live in Marina Del Rey, and I had this great patio, and I could see like a sliver of the marina if you like. Anyway, so I'm in this great patio, and my neighbor upstairs, I lived there for years. It was so quiet. And then this woman moved in upstairs and one over. And she was like on her porch 24/7. It was just too much. We heard every conversation. All the other neighbors would get together and be like, oh my God, have you heard? We knew about her boyfriend's penis size, the amount of carats of the ring that she got. And, we knew everything too much, more than her life was an open book. And we wish she'd close the book. That was how we all felt, right? So I used to love to meditate out on my patio. I had all these plants. It was beautiful. But now this woman is out there talking on the phone, talking with her friends all the time. And it was just too much. And I remember one day she wasn't out there and I was so excited. I went out to the patio and I'm meditating. It's so beautiful. And I have the ocean breeze and I'm there. And then she comes out and she's talking with a friend of hers and they're literally talking like this. Oh my God. They were talking like this. It was like a Saturday Night Live skit. It was amazing. So she's like, oh my God. They're talking about the yachts that are going by. Look at that yacht. I've been on a bigger yacht. Literally, this is the conversation. I've been on a bigger yacht. Oh my God, remember that time we were on the yacht? And I'm sitting there meditating and I'm thinking to myself, they're just not very spiritual. This is the ego's costume party right there. They're not spiritual. They're just not spiritual. This is what a sense of humor the universe has. As I thought, they're not very spiritual. The next words out of their mouth, the one woman says, you know the difference between us and our boyfriends? And the other one says, no, what? She says, well, they're just not spiritual. We're spiritual. And her friend's like, you're right. We are so spiritual. They're just not spiritual. That's the difference. And I was like, oh, okay, God, thank you. Thank you for just that slap down, right? Like, that's the ego's costume party. That moment when you catch yourself acting like the spiritual one, right? I'm calm, I'm centered, I'm meditated, I'm heavily meditated. But I'm really underneath going, they're not spiritual. That's the ego's costume party, right? That's the costume party. That's the presentation, the performance. I don't know if any of you caught yourselves doing that, but I'm admitting, hi, Spiritual Overachievers Anonymous. So where does this come from? This comes from this idea of monotheistic psychology. Now, I am a spiritual practitioner. I believe in one source, one power, one life, one. So I'm a full monotheism, one source. But the expression of monotheism through the dogma of religion has changed something. And here's what shifted. Because before, we were in a polytheistic culture, right? Our cultural groups or tribes were polytheistic, and it was animistic. Everything was a spirit. Everything was alive. All of nature was alive and talking to us, right? And there were lots of ways to access the divine. There was a God of war, a God of love, a God of dreams, a God of chaos, a God of like, there was a lot of contradiction, right? Some gods were contradicting each other, but there were lots of ways that we could access the divine. I can access the divine through ecstasy, through sex, through love, through chaos, through war, through dreams, all these ways of connecting with God. And then monotheism comes with the dogma of religion and says there's one from many ways. Now there's just one ideal way. The cultural shift was from many ways to be, very little's excluded, everything's included, to one way to be, lots excluded, very little included. And this becomes an idea translated psychologically to us as there's one ideal self. There's one way to be. And this then becomes the normative should, the shifting ruler of what really is enough. What is a spiritual person? What's a kind person? What's a spiritual person is supposed to be kind and non-reactive. Really? Some of the most important lessons I've ever learned is when a spiritual leader got real with somebody and was direct and honest and loving. It's okay to call a thing. You just got to do it with love, right? Direct, honest, and loving. But let's start here. For that cultural shift, we went from many valid ways of believing to only one acceptable way, one good self, and the right self, the approved self. And now we've internalized that, and whatever it is, we're not it. I'm not, that's where this normative should, it's a ruler that says a good person does this, a spiritual person does this, a kind person does this. It feels, a spiritual person doesn't feel like this. I should be this way. It's this internalized religion of rightness. And it's tricky. The normative should, it keeps moving. Because one day it'll be like, you should be more productive. And the next day, you really should relax more. Right? It's always moving. It's a little bit confusing. It begins to put us on this self-improvement treadmill, And what happens is, how we need to appear to be right, how we think we should appear to be, who the healer, the calm one, the right one, the whatever it is, the enlightened one, the perfected one. We exile all the other parts of us, all the parts that don't fit that. We exile them. And even healing then becomes another mask if we perform it for approval. So how do we spot the cues? How do you tell whether it's performance or not? Well, there's a couple of key things: comparison, spiritual perfectionism, and editing yourself to appear a certain way. Those are sure signs that you're in the normative should. So when we obey these normative shoulds long enough, we start exiling the parts of ourselves that don't fit the image. The sensual part, the angry part, right? I was so proud of myself yesterday. I sent an email that was direct, and it was the scariest thing because I kept thinking, well, I should be more understanding of their perception and their perspective, and they're trying to do these, they're trying to onboard new people and streamline, their systems, and I can understand that. I can understand why they've fallen behind on some of the things that they promised to do, and blah blah blah. This has nothing to do with rythmia, by the way. It was another project that I was working on, and my partners in the project, who are wonderful, going through changes. But they weren't supporting our project. And then they were asking for additional stuff. And I was finally at the point where I was like, I'm not really wanting to put more in my mind. I don't want to put more time into this because I've put all this time and energy into this project and there's nothing coming back. So I want to wait until you guys do something, and then I'll be happy to contribute. But I've done this, and this, and nothing has been acted on your part. So, but I didn't want to say that. And so finally I wrote, this was a big point of spiritual growth, to write a direct email that said that I'm not inclined to put more time and energy into this because I've done these things and there's no action has been taken. I understand that you're systematizing and improving systems and all of those things, yet there hasn't been support for this project. So when you're ready, let me know and I'm there. I was so scared to send that email. Like, they're not going to invite me back. They don't want to, I'm difficult to work with. All that stuff. That's the ego's costume party. It's so subtle. Even someone as incredibly evolved as me. Can you imagine? I know. It's incredible. Anyway, I'm so glad there's only one person watching right now. Hi, thank you for being here. Okay, so we start running on this self-improvement treadmill, this if I can just fix what's wrong, then I'll finally be worthy. But of course, the finish line keeps moving. And even if we feel like we've arrived, then this finish line shifts. So the question becomes, when do you stop performing wholeness and start feeling it? Right? And we talked about the cues, comparison. They're more evolved than I am. They're just further along than I am. The spiritual perfectionism. A real healer wouldn't feel angry. A real healer wouldn't be jealous. That's spiritual perfectionism, editing yourself to look wise, to look composed. That, instead of just actually being real, like, wow, no, I don't want to do that. No, I'm not inclined, So every time we are in comparison, spiritual perfectionism, or edit ourselves to look a certain way, that's a sign that we're in the ego's costume party. And the truth is that you're one of a kind. You're sui generis. There's no other you. You're one of a kind. So when you don't have to audition to be anyone else, because you're you. There's nobody that can be you. You weren't meant to fit into anybody else's patterns. You weren't meant to fit into anybody else's boxes or categories. And that's when everything starts to soften. When I start to accept myself fully. That doesn't mean that I can just be like, I'm me. Fuck you if you don't like it. No, because radical self-acceptance requires radical self-responsibility. If I'm going to accept myself fully because I'm one of a kind and there's no categories that fit me, then it's up to me to create my own categories. It's up to me to say who I want to be and then determine whether my actions are in alignment with who I want to be. Not because a spiritual person should do that. It's because this is who I declare myself to be. Now, is my action in alignment with what the category that I created for myself? That's personal responsibility. So, are you ready to meet yourself? Are you ready to take off the costume? Start to observe this week when you start saying, I should be further along than I am. Why am I still working on this? Those are ego costume party signs. And just allow yourself I'm on my own road. There's nobody, I shouldn't be further along. There's no should, there's no comparison. There's no should is a normative measurement of comparison. But if you're on your own road, there's no categories that fit you. There's nobody like you. You're sui generis. You're one of a kind. You're uncategorizable. Then how you are is perfect. Now, do you want to change some things about you? Great. You want to improve? You want to grow? You want to expand? Beautiful. You don't have to fix anything. You're perfect the way you are. But there's something in you that wants to emerge. There's something in you that wants to expand and grow. That's the juice. Just like the trees outside. They're not growing to earn the sun's approval. They're growing because they can. That's us. So that's walking the path this week. I'm so grateful and so thankful. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me. Thank you. Appreciate you. Whether you're watching live, I know so many people watch on the replay. So thank you all. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Blessings, 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 blessings. Because that's what a spiritual person would say. Bless you. All right. See you later. Thank you. I'm going to try and turn this off.